Um, yeah, I agree that it's very, very difficult. I have been lucky at the moment that I'm focusing on a postgraduate course. So generally people do realize that if they, they're there to actually enhance themselves. It's different to undergrads that, yes, they want to study. They might not even know what to study and they end up studying civil engineering. Where with postgrad, we run block weeks. So it's people, it's professionals for the most part that come in that do these courses. And there you see a lot of engagement. We can see it when we see the number of hits on our site, downloading stuff. And the questions, I don't get a lot of questions. I had expected more questions, but the questions that I get, you really see that they are engaging with the material. We have, data is obviously an issue. I think all universities in South Africa have been able to be zero rated by service providers, which is amazing from both sides. I know that the universities collectively did a lot of work to get there, and all the service providers have come on board. But we also have international students. So I have one of my full-time postgraduate students stuck in Lesotho, and he has to pay for every single byte that he downloads with partially an unreliable connection. We have students in South Africa that sit in rural areas where the data may be free, but the connection is not there. And that you see that that students have challenges. I know of one plagiarism issue already in one of the other departments where we could prove with the hits on the assessment site that they had been in contact, gave all the same answered within a few seconds of each other. And that was an undergraduate course. So they have been reported and they have admitted guilt, but we see that in different departments as well, that it's more group work than individual work that is handed in as an assessment. And we need to see now also with professional accreditation how we go about it and what we do extra to make sure that every single student meets the outcomes. In the Netherlands, and I'm a transport engineer working in the civil engineering department.
Thank you very much. Thato, could you give a brief introduction, please?
Morning, I'm Thato Seabi. I'm a civil engineering lecturer focusing more on water engineering. I have passions for research where we could try and improve service delivery, more so geared around the provision of water to marginalized neighborhoods.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for the intro. So we'll get to it. As Marutia said earlier, our topic for today is how has COVID-19 affected Hardhat professionals? So today we want to know from you guys, how has it affected you in your academic life, in your careers as academics? Thato, we're going to start with you. Just tell us how has been your experience with COVID-19 and how has it affected your academic work?
Thanks, Tammy. I'll start by saying, I think COVID for me has affected how I think traditional academics are administered. We have context sessions that are synchronous, which means that as I'm talking, the student has the opportunity to interject and say, hey, I don't understand what's happening. The conversation is more direct. But with COVID, we've had to sort of teach and students have to learn asynchronously. And because of that, thanks. Just to add on to what Prof. Marianne also said, so things like practicals. Students are at home, not able to access the labs that we might have. So some of the more practical training is lost. Like if they have to run some test in a lab? How do they physically go about doing that and thinking and solving the practical on their own? Because I mean, you can make a video and you have them watch, but if they're not going through the process and seeing, oh, okay, I read a value like this, I calculate maybe a volume from this aspect of the practical, that also gets lost a bit in through this COVID-19 institution where I am. We offer the degree and the diploma level of the degree. So various levels of practical elements are heavily lost on the one qualification, because we just can't have access to the labs. Rightly so, because I mean, we don't want, safety is always paramount with people's children left in our care. So that's also a big component. There's people that have to show some form of practical activities to qualify for the degree. That sits a bit, because where do you get to execute those functions a bit? It's a bit frustrating in terms of how we teach. But also, if we look at the data and accessibility and the environment to learn remotely. So I contacted a former student from the institution that I was working at before, and I just asked them, listen, I don't teach you anymore, but you're a student. Please talk to me. What has been your experience? Let me not speak to the students that I maybe teach. Let me speak to an objective student and tell me the issues that you face. And like Prof. Marianne was saying, we might have these zero-rated websites, but it doesn't help if you can't connect to the internet because there's no network, or the area that you live in, your household doesn't have access to electricity. You don't always have a charged device. Electricity is a bit of an issue. So that then becomes a problem, because we might have all of these great resources online and we are trying our best and we're recording ourselves. We're trying to immerse you with content, but all of that just means it's a bigger challenge for you to access. So now it then creates the issue of some then have a better chance of surviving their academics through COVID, and then others actually now are hindered because there's all of this extra resource that we're putting online, but they can't access it. And they can only do the bare minimum, the notes, and they don't want to open the video because that's going to maybe possibly take a quarter of the zero-rated data. So what do they do? So then you have this problem that they lost and they don't know how to access you as well, because sometimes asking a question through text, you lose tone, you lose certain cues. Yeah, you lose certain cues. Sometimes you can, like Prof mentioned earlier, looking at someone, you can see, okay, I'm losing my explanation. I'm talking maybe past this person. So let me tone it back a bit and try and figure out, where did I lose you? So it's a bit frustrating, I can imagine, for students. And then the student went on further to share something that I didn't quite think about. He is the eldest child in their household and the parents are very elderly. So a lot of things are sort of incumbent upon him to do in the household. Okay, when things are normal and there's no COVID, the student is at school and there's caretakers for the parents. But the caretakers also can't be there because of restrictions in movement. So certain things still need to be done to the parents. Make sure I get this medication and this is done. And unfortunately, if you have certain time fixed lessons, they might lose that interactive opportunity, even if they have access to data, because they can't join that session and ask it, oh no, sorry, lecturer, what do you mean by this? So they might get a recording. And if they have a burning question that they wanted to ask in that session, unfortunately, they lose that option because they have to still do chores and certain things. And sometimes maybe the parents don't quite understand the importance of this time, that yes, we're at home, but it's actually still school time. So they still have to then fit schools in and around life at home. And that's not easy for them. It's something that I've had to now think about, to say, okay, because of that, I need to try and have enough resources that are delayed. So not everything must be live and now. I must try and facilitate something that's also delayed try and sort of accommodate people that are in situations where they only have access to data during this time. They only have access to electricity during certain times. And it's you really have to think as much as possible about the students, where before it was more, well, I felt like it was more of the students are gathering around me. Now it's almost like I must go out to the students and try and not have as many of them left behind, if that's possible.